Jobs. Having one is simultaneously hell on earth and pretty much the only way to survive in our late capitalist hellscape. To be honest, I guess it's a little more nuanced than that. Sometimes a job can be fun. It can be a sort of streamlined way to expand your social web or to feel like you're part of a team, contributing to something bigger than yourself, perhaps.
You can meet some epic people who become your new friends for 8 hours a day. And you can also meet some not so epic people who stink and tell bad stories that you can only reply to with, "Damn, that's crazy."
Bro, don't even get me started. We've all had those coworkers who try to show you a YouTube video on their phone that's entirely way too long and so far outside of your own interests that you start to dissociate. But hey, they also pay money, sometimes, which is like an absolute necessity if you're going to be alive in this day and age.
Earning those precious little pennies that you use for your overpriced food and your overpriced housing, maybe your little arts and crafts hobby, or to fuel your crippling nicotine addiction.
Sometimes a job can even introduce you to and hone skills that you might find useful or enjoyable outside of work. But deep down, we all know work sucks. Simple as that. And the two 30-year-old men talking to you right now have spent most of their lives as service industry minions.
This video not only serves to criticize the companies and the people that use these services day to day, but also to hopefully give some insight to the more reasonable consumer about what's going on the other side of the counter.
Now, the service industry encompasses many different jobs, from retail to serving, hairdressing to bartending, and I'm sure the experiences at each vary just as much. However, I do believe there has to be some sort of massive crossover in experiences when you're talking about the service industry writ large, when you're working at the mercy of the general public. And we're here today to talk about our particular areas of expertise, namely merchandise retail and food service.
Ah yes, the wonderful world of retail. The best place to meet all the worst people on earth. Like this middle-aged woman that's complaining that we don't carry the item that she found on a different store's website. Or this ancient Civil War vet with Civil War breath, very inappropriately flirting with the youngest women on staff, while simultaneously being condescending about their knowledge of the place that they work at.
Aside from 2 years in an internship after I finished my bachelor's degree, I've worked in the service industry from the time I was 14 years old, thanks to a certain local amusement park and their lax interpretation of child labor laws. I started out as a ride attendant at said amusement park, and after growing up a little bit, I moved into retail in the mall. Yes, it was Hot Topic, obviously. There, I ascended the ranks from sales associate all the way up to store manager, ultimately spending about 6 years at Hot Topic. Additionally, before I was full-time at the old HT, I also worked as a barista, just trying to make a little extra money on the side. And now, with 2 degrees under my belt and a decade and a half of work experience, I can proudly say I'm a barista.
All those years I've spent wandering the aisles of a certain home improvement store. All those years of dealing with angry old men and Mormon moms hauling around 5 kids on a rickety cart. All those years of pizza parties instead of a decent raise. All those years!
Probably the most glaringly obvious issue is the fact that the pay is shit for most of these jobs. Much lower than they deserve for having to deal with you people all day. But that could be an entire video on its own. Make no mistake, we probably wouldn't even be making this video if the pay was better at our jobs.
In retail specifically, a big problem is having to annoy customers by pitching them store credit cards and upselling them shit that they absolutely don't need. The system is really designed to make you, the grunt, keep your fellow working man down. Ah, consumption culture. Now this isn't exclusive to retail, but a lot of places offer this really cool thing called a bonus, where instead of increasing your pay, they dangle a little chunk of money in front of your face if you perform to their liking. That's what I say to your bonus. Well, still give it to me, but I shouldn't have to increase my productivity just for the possibility of a little extra money.
Now, I don't have to sell my customers' credit cards as a barista, nor are bonuses used as leverage for increased productivity. However, in order for my job to financially support me in any way, I rely on customer tips, obviously. In other words, my employers expect and rely on their customer base to pay fully half of their employees' wages. This creates, in my humble opinion, an often terse relationship between barista and customer, and once again often serves to pit working people against one another. And while it's not directly considered pay, perhaps, we food service workers, we rarely have the good fortune of our employers providing any sort of benefits, namely healthcare, sick time. I'm not even going to mention vacation because that's pretty much a joke in these jobs.
Low pay issues aside, there are plenty of other mild to severe problems that add up together into the shit cube that is the service industry. One being the people. So many people. Standing there, menacingly, completely blocking an aisle or a walkway. Whether they're oblivious or just lacking any sort of common courtesy, this has to be one of my biggest pet peeves while working in a retail space. Or just as bad, the cousin of this sin, the slow walker. Listen, if you want to have a nice, leisurely stroll on a Tuesday morning through a big box store, that's fine. Go right ahead. But for the love of God, move to the side, people! Leave me some space to get by so I can put your ass in the dust, old man!
Bringing it back to my food service experiences, anybody who's worked as a barista outside of the cultural vacuum that is Starbucks understands the frustration of that damn brand inventing some entirely new coffee-based drink with some stupid-ass, pseudo-fancy coffee-esque name and having to repeatedly tell customers, no, we do not have a matcha lavender oat milk cold foam dragon juice frappuccino. I've been in the game long enough that I no longer give an eye roll when people order a caramel macchiato, which is just a caramel vanilla latte with a caramel drizzle. That being said, I am still douchey enough to ask, you want that Starbucks style?
You know the old adage, the customer is always right? Well, they aren't. And I don't know if they've ever been. Yet people will still walk into a store acting like they're the fucking queen of Siam. Yes, sir, right this way, sir.
God, I could go on about entitled coffee drinkers. That's not how they do it at Starbucks. Hi, I came in 3 months ago and had a really delicious drink. Do you remember what it was? Well, at this other place, they gave me an extra shot for free. Can I get a small, but will you put it in an extra large cup, with no ice and extra milk?
By the way, if you're mad that there isn't anybody available to help you, it's probably because the fucking company won't hire more people. Do not be fooled by the propaganda. People are trying to work, but the companies won't hire enough people to run said company efficiently. Not to mention the insanely high turnover for these companies, because again, they're not paying competitive wages.
And please, stop yelling about how these are high school jobs when you hear workers demanding a higher minimum wage, perhaps, when you are the one who wants a double cheeseburger at 1 a.m. Or maybe you're the guy who expects immediate, knowledgeable help at your local hardware retailer at 9 in the morning.
Long story short, it should be mandatory to work a retail or food industry job for a year before you can transfer over to something else. It's a rite of passage to becoming a real human. You need to get your ass humbled before you go out into the world thinking you can bitch at people just for doing their job. Jokes aside, it really teaches you humility in a way that other fields can't. Yes, plenty of people work in trades, construction, factories, and many other jobs that are absolutely tough in their own way. We're not trying to put the service industry on a pedestal. At the end of the day, everyone is just out there trying to make a living. It's the one thing that unites us against those millionaire CEO bastards. And as a wise man once said, I just work here, man.